So today I want to talk to you about planning and budgeting for your custom motorcycle project. First and foremost, you have to manage your expectations about what you want out of the bike and what you want out of the project. So there are three components I want to highlight here. One is doing it good, second is doing it cheap, and doing it quickly. You can't manage all of these three elements together. You will definitely have to pick two of these and drop the other one to a certain extent. So the project's outcome will definitely depend on what your budget allows for it and what your time allows for it. So if you can't afford to kind of bench the bike for a long time, or if you don't have the funds to do it in one stretch, you will have to kind of manage how you want to plan each individual modification. So before we start anything, we have to make sure that your bike doesn't have any catastrophic failures. So if you have a massive repair on your hand, it might not be economically viable for you to kind of do that repair and then do your project. So unless your bike is super rare, it might not be even worth it. So the easiest way to determine this is, if you look at the cost of your repair and if you compare the price of a similar make and model out there in the market which is running perfectly, and if your repair cost is too high, then it's more sensible to buy a bike out of the market and start your project on that base. Once you know that your bike is running, you can start your project with a peace of mind that you have a solid baseline that you can build on. Otherwise, if you run to the end of the project and if you find out there's a fault and you might not be able to find out, okay, where the fault came from. Was it something that you did, or was it something that you inherited from the base project? This will make troubleshooting a lot more difficult for you or even a much more experienced mechanic. So if you have the budget and the time to do the project end to end in one stretch, all you have to decide on is what your budget allows for you in terms of components and modifications. So let's take tires as an example. So if you expect optimum performance out of your project bike, you might want to go for a good quality tire like a Dunlop or a Bridgestone or any other name brand manufacturer. If your budget doesn't allow for something like that, you can always go for a lower quality tire at a lower price point. If your budget doesn't allow for a change of tires at all, then you will have to rely on your existing tires to take you through. If you look at handlebars, you can either use the same handlebar, or you can use a reconditioned OEM handlebar, or you can use an aftermarket one that is fairly cheap, or you can go for something really name brand and aftermarket good quality handlebar. Once you have selected your components and you know that it fits in your budget, you can kind of safely start your project knowing that you are heading in the right direction. If you don't have the funds to start and finish the project in one go, you have the option of doing a rolling project. What a rolling project is, you keep using the bike and you keep doing small modifications as and when your budget and time allows for it, and you do it over a longer period of time. So you can continue making small changes to your bike over a longer period of time. For example, you can change your headlight at one point, you can change your exhaust at another point, you can change your controls in another point, and you can do the seat in another point. So throughout a longer period of time, you can plan little bits of modifications that you want to do to your bike. So this will not be a huge one-time investment as a matter of funds, or you won't have to take the bike out of usage to make these changes. Now, certain changes like chassis modifications, you might want to do over a couple of days at least. So for these kind of big modifications, you will have to plan a little ahead. The main pitfall you have to avoid here is not having to repeat the same modifications in context to later modifications that you will be doing. For example, you keep your stock handlebar and you change your rear sets. Now you weld up the tabs, you replace the rear sets, and you use the bike for a couple of months. So later on, you change into clip-ons. And now you will find that your seating position and your foot position is off a little bit. So now you have to go back and do your resets again. So it's important that you don't fall into that pitfall. When you do a modification, you have to think of all the connecting modifications that it impacts to. And when you plan for it, you have to plan for it in a way that you don't repeat the same modification later down the line. So obviously this takes a lot more planning and thinking forward when you want to do a rolling project. But this is the compromise you have to make when you can't make funds available right away. In either situation, the main thing that you have to focus on is your safety. The rider, that is you, or anyone riding with you, or other road users should not be compromised when you plan for a modification. So if you're doing a modification that actually affect how the bike operates fundamentally, how it handles, how it accelerates, how the engine operates. If you do a modification that affects any of those things, make sure that you see it completely through. And all of the associating modifications are done before you put the bike onto the road back again. So before I finish this video, I want to leave you with one bonus tip. So from my experience doing a couple of other bikes in the past, no matter how much I plan, no matter how much I budget, there is always something that is unexpected. There's always some repair, there's always some component that I have to source that I didn't initially think of. So when you plan and budget for your project, make sure you don't tighten it to the last rupee. Make sure you leave about 10 to 15% in your budget to accommodate for these unexpected modifications. So that's it for today. I will see you again with another video with more information on how to do a custom project in Sri Lanka.